Hello. Hello. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a happy Friday or Saturday, wherever you are. Wow, wow, wow. A lot of people already in here. Damn, I just got on. I wasn't even sure if it was going to connect. It's been a while since I've streamed. But yeah, I figured I was going to read a couple stories or something and chill out, hang out. All that good stuff. It's been a while. Talk with everyone. And then I'll also be kind of typing in the chat on the 26th on Melody Ann's page for that book I did, which will be fun. What's up, everybody? Too many people to say hello to everyone, but hello, Nicole. I saw Dr. Blue up there. Star, Margebot, what up? I don't know if I got the email, Margebot. I might have. I don't know. I'd have to look again. There might be like an update. I know sometimes when I get my emails, it'll show me like the last conversation we had. So sometimes I think they never said anything really new, so I don't click in it. So I'll have to check it. Yeah, I'll check that at some point. What's up, Diesel Donkey 89? Nice name. I like that. Very nice. Someone said, "Can they call me Daddy?" I don't care. You can call me whatever you want. Some people call me asshole. Whatever works. ManBat94 said, "I love the book." Hey, I appreciate that. I'm glad you were able to check it out and everything. I noticed it's got a couple reviews over there. I forgot to tell people to leave a review if they've listened to it. Krista B is wondering if I've seen the new It. My wife and I saw it a few days ago, and I fell asleep. And I woke up, and there was a jump scare, and then I fell back asleep. So she said it was really good, and from what I saw, it was really good. But yeah, I guess I'll have to watch it again. Gamer Dan OP, the game says, "Your maker promised me you will never leave YouTube. I love you. No homo." I plan on sticking around on YouTube as long as I can, as long as it'll let me and all that good stuff. I enjoy it. I see Anya, Dicky. What up, Shadow? Well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and we'll find a story. And what stories was I gonna read? I don't even remember. I usually have it all planned out. Alright, here's one. I'm not even gonna turn on background music because what I think I'm gonna do, these are gonna be new stories. And what I think I'm gonna do is maybe just download this video and then do my editing from there. Maybe. Is a Knife asks for a face reveal. I've actually done a few face reveals, so yeah, you can find those on my channel for sure. Alright, let's try to go ahead and get into this video, I guess. Or this story, this video. Alright. Yeah. I grew up in the country. The closest house was 500 meters away on the main road. The closest house was 500 meters away, and the main road was 1 kilometer away. There also was a military base about 500 meters from our house. It just says it's all the abbreviations, so I'm trying to go through. Don't mind those, people. Don't mind those. And for that reason, we weren't allowed to add a second story to the house, grow big trees, etc. And we received a small amount of money in exchange for the inconvenience. All around our house there were crops, usually growing wheat or corn. As a kid, I loved going in the fields, running on the grass, climbing on top of the hay bales, and jumping from one to the next before the farmer took them away, or simply exploring as an adventure. Although I'm a girl, I wasn't very girly, and preferred climbing trees and staying outside than playing with dolls. That just reminded me of the dolls I'm trying to shop for to melt. I'm sorry. My mind's distracted. I've also always been very shy, and still am to this day. But when I was in junior high, around the late 90s, I actually had a couple of friends. I'm gonna make sure I'm recording, because I've done this all and been muted before. Okay. One time, one of my friends was at my house and we went exploring on one of the cornfields. It had to be late spring because the plants were towering over us, almost ready to be harvested. We walked around for a bit until we found some of the plants pressed down to the ground, and decided to look further. We found out that they formed some kind of a circle, with perhaps other elements into it. It was hard to tell without being able to hover up from. It was hard to tell without being able to hover from above. At that time, I had never heard of alien signs in cornfields and such. I didn't even know if I don't even know if they were already a thing. I was curious, but since there wasn't much to do other than look, we just left and continued our play date in the house. I went back the day after with a cheap disposable camera and took a couple of pictures of the signs. When the film Signs was developed, I showed When the film Signs was developed, I showed the pics to my mom, but she didn't pay too much into it. I'm just stumbling on my words today. I'm gonna scroll down. Friday, everyone. It's also live. Perks Alive. You get to hear all these mistakes. If you haven't noticed, this story is kind of otherworldly. I have a different one too that's going to be pretty bloody. Where was I? When the film Signs was developed, I showed the pics to my mom, but she didn't pay too much attention. She was saying it was probably just a tractor that crushed the plants or something and brushed it off. It didn't occur to me to search into it online, as at the time I only went online to chat with my friends and wasn't on 24/7. I'm an extremely curious person, so I went back again sometime later, perhaps a few weeks later, and couldn't find the circles anymore. Maybe I didn't remember the exact spot, or maybe the plants were just back to normal and that was the end of it. Years passed, and when I first heard about these circles in the fields that were supposed to be... That's a bad thing about scrolling. Years passed, and when I first heard about these circles in the fields that were supposedly made by aliens, I was shocked. I urged my mom to come look at it and asked her, Do you remember when we had them here? Here? No, honey, I don't remember, she said. I told you about it, and even took pictures. You said it was nothing. Don't you remember? Actually, no. That didn't sound very female. Actually, no. Are you sure you didn't make it up? Actually, no. Are you sure you didn't make it up? It was a fair question since I've always had a vivid imagination, but I was sure I didn't make it up. I remember it all very clearly, and I took pictures. As I remembered this, I went to look for them. I searched every drawer and album. I went through all the pictures I could find, and the ones of the crop signs weren't anywhere. For my mom, this was the ulterior proof For my mom, this was the ulterior proof that it was all just something I made up. But I was sure it wasn't. Gotta get some water. What a break. I remember seeing it, taking the pictures, dropping off the film and retrieving the pictures a couple of days later, and then showing them to her. By that time I was in high school, and since my old friend went to a different school, we drifted apart. A couple of years ago, when I joined Facebook, I received a friend request from her, and that event came back to me. I asked her if she remembered seeing the circles. She said she doesn't. To this day, I don't know what to think of it. Was it all in my mind? Was it a dream? I remember it too vividly for not being something I actually witnessed. The most logical explanation would be that a couple of plants were crushed by a What? The most logical explanation would be that a couple of plants were crushed, and my hyper-imaginative mind saw an alien pattern where there was none. But how could I, if I didn't know about it? I am rather skeptical towards the idea of aliens spying on us, and even more that they're responsible for those signs. I cannot say alternative. I keep adding an R. I've heard several Oh my god, what am I trying to say? I've heard several alternative explanations, so there may be a perfectly logical explanation. This is so bad. So there may be a perfectly logical explanation for what I saw. For instance, the pictures got misplaced and lost, or both my mom and my friend forgot about it because it wasn't anything worth noting. And the fact that we were close to a military base was merely a coincidence. But what if it wasn't? I moved to another country 10 years ago, but from time to time I think back at it and the weirdness of it all. What really happened? I'll probably never have an answer. End scene. Man, that was brutal. You guys got to hear how it sounds when I'm just stumbling over my words. Isn't it so amazing? What if it wasn't? So what's up, everybody who actually just joined the chat, maybe? Yeah, I don't know if you guys were able... See, that's the thing about reading live, is not everyone's going to be able to hear the full story. If someone comes in a little late, they miss it. Miss it real good. What's up, everybody who just joined, who might have joined a little late and missed the first story? But yeah, that one I thought was a little interesting. I have a couple other alien ones, or one other alien one, something like that. And yeah, I'm excited to finally do some sort of little alien video. So expect that to be out soon. Ryan says he ran home for me. Oh, that's awesome. You probably could have watched it on your cell phone and not had to run. But you might not have been able to. Someone asked if I'm single. No, I'm married. I am married. I've been married for a few years now. Someone said to sleep or not to sleep because it's like 1 in the morning. It depends on how tired you are. It says lights in Oklahoma. Look it up. You know, I was actually talking to my thumbnail artist about an alien sighting it's one of my favorite ones. It's a guy, he actually was using his camera. It was in like 2008 or 2009 in Jerusalem, something like that. And Jordan, might have been Jordan. Was it Jordan? I don't remember. But he had a really sick camera, and he was able to zoom in all the way, and you could actually like kind of see the cockpit and outlines around it. It was like silhouettes of something in there. It was pretty cool. Well, it's just crazy. I actually live in Arizona too, so I'm always out. Not always, but I should be out more trying to look for the alien aircraft. Because supposedly I'm only a few hours from Phoenix, and this is where you see a lot of the UFOs. UFOs. I've seen a meteorite hit. That was amazing. I've never seen something hit that close. Like I saw it coming down, and it looked like it was the size of a school bus almost, and like I could see the crystallization as it was breaking. It looked like crystallization as it was breaking off the blue, white, the different colors, and then it disappeared behind the mountain, and you just saw the whole sky kind of light up for a second and then dim back out where it had hit. That was pretty amazing. Someone says you should add jump scares to this. Yeah, I miss adding my jump scares. But I know a lot of people would get upset. So yeah, there was a lot of things. I'd take the jump scares and time them up with flashes on the screen of like some horrible gory image. So that way, I actually looked up and I was like, what's the minimum amount of time someone needs to see a picture so it's burned in their mind? It was like 0.14 seconds, so that's how I set all my pictures, was to 0.14 and timed them up with the peak of a jump scare. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. But especially now with the YouTube changes with the different images and whatnot, that would be harder. They're so strict on all that stuff. A.K. Watson, hashtag love the pickle. Yeah. Yeah, Arizona is a dry heat, Amanda. Most definitely. It's not as bad as it was out in the Midwest. In the Midwest, it was really humid. Ryan, do I plan to have kids? I had a daughter. I don't know if you still consider it have, but she passed away. Actually, it's coming up on the anniversary that she passed away. It'll be 9 years here in like a week and a half. But I don't know. I've thought about it. Like, and at times I think I'm ready, but then at other times I'm thinking like, I would be way too overprotective with my next kid. Like, I don't even think they'd have fun. Like, I would just, yeah, I would be way too overprotective. So, I don't know. Someone asked if I lived in the Midwest. I did. I was actually stationed out at Fort Riley out in Kansas and Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. So, yeah, that was my first time ever in the Midwest was, where was it? I think it was St. Louis. I think I flew into St. Louis. It was when I joined the military. I was going to basic training. And I remember just getting outside the airport, and I had never felt humidity. I was always on the West Coast, you know. The only place I ever lived was literally within like a mile of the ocean. So then going to the Midwest, it was a whole different environment. And I'd heard about the humidity, but you couldn't really imagine it before you got there. And man, like, that was where the term chew your breath before you breathe type of thing, that actually started to make sense. Because it's so thick and gross and sticky. Someone says Army? Yes, Army. Yeah, I was in the Army. I was a combat engineer. Got to play with the explosives and all that good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I like the cold weather. Lee says, come to England and freeze your ass off. I like the cold weather, actually, but my wife doesn't. I like the snow, all that, but I don't know. Like, I guess I have different ways of liking each environment. Like, if Kansas wasn't so humid, like, it was gorgeous out there, but the humidity and all that is not, it's just shit. Moon Gluck, favorite TV series? Probably Survivor. Yeah, Survivor. Speaking of, kind of like a spinoff, man, I'm so pissed with Big Brother. I don't know if any of you guys watched that, but dude played the game perfectly and lost. And I'm salty that the bitches on the jury were salty. I'm salty. Yeah. It says try Western South Dakota, no humidity, all 4 seasons. Yeah, I've never actually been to the East Coast. I've always stuck to the West Coast. That's pretty much. I think this is pretty much where I'm at now in Arizona is about the farthest east I've gone by choice. Kind of. No, one time I did move back to Kansas. I move a lot. Like, a lot. I've moved probably over 20 times. Like, I move a lot. My wife, I told her that before we got together. I was like, I like to move. And she's like, oh, okay, that's fine. I like different scenery too. And then, man, I've had her move so much. She's like, I don't want to move anymore. And I was like, I told you I like to move. So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and do another story. Man, I'm just getting lost in my own mind. That's some funny shit. Aw, Zaddy. Thank you so. Did that just scream? That better not have just screamed. If that just screamed, I'm gonna be super mad. I don't have my headphones on. I just saw an audio spike. I unlinked my channel from their site because that shit will not stop screaming. Thank you, Zaddy, so much. I appreciate the support. I'm glad you made it to the stream. That's. Oh, it was a ding. Why would it ding? Interesting. At least it wasn't a loud ass scream. I couldn't turn it out. Shelby, the next story is coming up right now. I was just opening the file and everything. I was just trying to see what that was. See, I should just record me saying something for the super chats. Maybe even me just saying ding or something. Alright, so this next story is like a alien story. Okay. I haven't even read this one really through. Oh no. Okay. I bought a house across the street over the summer, and now that the leaves have started to fall, I have a clear view of the graveyard from my living room window. A week and a half ago, I saw something tall and white moving amongst the headstones. Something that glowed with dim light, even when it was pitch black out. I told Denise, who said, and I quote, "Well, that's pretty fucking cool." My stomach will not stop. We started staying up late to see if We started staying up late to see if it would come back. On Thursday night, it did. Through the binoculars, I could see it was shaped more or less like an upside-down tree. It didn't have feet, but rather hundreds of small tendrils. That's a new word added to my vocabulary. I don't know what a tendril is. It didn't have feet, but rather hundreds of small tendrils that shuffled it through the rows of headstones. Its body was erect and unremarkable. Save for an opening at the top where a different, longer tendril hung. Where different, longer tendrils hung. It moved silently and ceaselessly for almost 20 minutes before disappearing into thin air. When I got to work Friday, I told a couple of guys about it. They said I was full of shit, so I invited them over to see it for themselves. Dan was the only one who took me up on this offer, so I told him to come for dinner. We could eat and wait for the thing to show up. Around 1 a.m. on Saturday morning, it came back. Dan was speechless. He took out his phone and started recording. I told him there was no point. It hadn't shown up on anything Denise and I had tried to record it with. But he insisted on trying anyway. Scroll. We were out on the front porch, so the thing was about 100 feet away. Maybe more. Dan wasn't having any luck with it in focus. So he crossed the street and stood on the edge of the cemetery property. I wouldn't go near it, Dan, Denise advised. Part of me agreed with her, but another part wanted to join him and get a better look. It's cool, Dan replied over his shoulder. He kept walking in its direction. I stayed on the porch with Denise and watched Dan get closer. Can you hear that? Dan called. It sounds like it's singing or something. Neither of us could hear what Dan heard, but I was growing increasingly uneasy at his cavalier attitude in the face of something completely unknown. That was a long breath. Before any of us could react, one of the tendrils from the top of the creature shot across the cemetery. One of the tendrils from the top of the creature shot across the cemetery and whipped Dan in the face. He stumbled and fell on his back. Denise gasped, and I started running toward my friend. The thing evaporated. I reached Dan, who had already gotten up. He looked no worse for wear. As we headed back for the house, Dan began to limp. He started to complain about a weird feeling in his feet. I helped him across the street and back into the house. He immediately took off his shoes and started to rub his heels and arches and toes. It was obvious he was in pain. Without warning, with a series of sickening wet cracks, Dan's feet split in half. He and Denise screamed. They split again, and again. Denise fumbled with her phone to call 911, and I could just watch, horrified, as Dan's feet continued to... Another new word. Bifurcate? As Dan's feet continued to bifurcate until there was nothing left but bleeding tendrils that jerked and twitched, flinging blood across the living room. Dan passed out as further I don't know what this word is. Bifurcations. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'll have to look it up later. Dan passed out as further bifurcations turned his feet into noodle-thin, then hair-thin, filaments. I heard an ambulance approaching. We live only a quarter mile away from the hospital. The filaments knotted and unknotted as the EMTs entered the house. They gazed, wide-eyed, at Dan's injuries. As they loaded him onto the gurney and began exiting the house, 2 cracks like gunshots rang out, making everyone jump. His shins, knees, and femurs had split. Blood poured down the side of the gurney and cascaded onto the floors, and cascaded down our front steps. Denise and I heard more cracks after the ambulance doors had closed. Then, with sirens blaring. They were gone. Dan died not long after. I attended his funeral this morning. There's no explanation for what had happened to him, and the news report on his death simply called it an accident. I want to come forward and tell the police what's going on in the cemetery, but the thing hasn't shown up at all since that night. If anyone lives in Norwalk and can claim that they'd seen something like what I'd described, please do so. I don't want anyone else to get hurt. Dan didn't deserve what happened to him. Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, so that was an interesting story. Take care, A. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, that one was, the ending caught me off guard. I'm assuming that was a work of fiction, but yeah. It still seems like it to me. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that's obviously a work of fiction, but still something different for sure. Most definitely. Ryan just heard a thud at his back door. Pray for him, everyone. What up, King Frank? Braille? I hope I said that right. I don't know. Yeah, we'll probably go ahead and end this stream here in a bit. I see you, Dixie Smith. I see you. Can I get a shout out? There's a shout out. Probably end this stream really quick. Probably end the stream pretty quick. I figured I'd come on and get that little bit of recording done. I don't know what I need to. I'm gonna figure something else out too for more stories. What up, No Name? Shelby. No Name. Almond Milk says, wait, I have a question. Well, we'll have to see if Ryan's even going to be okay. He's going to check his back door or front door. He heard something at his door. Oh, don't worry, guys. It was just pizza. I forgot I delivered. You know what I mean? One more story. I don't know. I had a different one. Oh, this one's not even. This one's just a wall of text at the moment. Just try to space this out real quick and see if it'd be something easy to read. And then I can do one more. Yeah, I like to space mine out a lot, the paragraphs, so that way I can actually not lose my spot. Alright, I guess I'll do one more and then I'll go ahead and end the stream. Yeah, how's that? Yeah, Ryan, you're alive. Thank you for the kind comment, Jenny. I'm glad I can help you get through your drudgery of statistics in your office. That's awesome. Yeah, I used to listen to a lot of the stories at work as well. Definitely helps pass the time. And it's better than listening to the same music over and over and over and over and over. Martin says, what's your favorite Pokemon? The one that doesn't exist. I'm not a fan of Pokemon. I know Pikachu and Charizard. Those are the only two I know the names of. Oh, and Squirtle. And I think that's it. Is Squirtle one? Is Squirtle one, or am I thinking of something? No, Squirtle's got to be a Pikachu. I mean, it's got to be a Pikachu. It's got to be a Pokemon. That's awesome. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and try to do another story. Okay, okay. This one's not an alien one, so. My water bottle just bloop. This happened some time ago, but nothing even close has happened since, and it took me a long time to realize the gravity of the situation. I lived in a share house with 3 other guys at the time. However, they were at their various jobs, and I worked night shifts at a nearby gas station. I was in bed after a shift, fast asleep, when I started awake. Let me change that. I was in bed after a shift, fast asleep, and was startled awake, not really knowing why. There was a period of about 15 through 20 minutes after I began to wake, of silence, followed by a knock at the door. At this point, having just woken up, I was still trying to get my bearings. However, I realized that I must have woken up from someone knocking at the door. Another 15 through 20 seconds pass in silence, and I start to think, maybe it's just door-to-door salesperson / charity collections / whatever, and figured they must have just left. So I started to relax a little at this point. Then the entire front of the house starts to shake, and I can hear what sounds like someone hitting the front wall with a sledgehammer. Hi, Thumper. Hi. At this point, I can't really process what's going on. My first thoughts are, since we lived across from a train station, this must be because of activity at the station. Like maybe a freight train grumbling past. I don't know why I thought that. But in my mind it was the most logical thing. All of a sudden the banging stops momentarily. It resumes another 5 seconds later. By this, now or less more than 2 minutes had passed since I woke up. However, it felt like my brain had only just started working. I realize now that at the very least, something was happening to the front of my house that I didn't like. The bangs were very loud, and the house was pretty old and warped, almost entirely made of wood. Scroll down. At this point, I started to panic because I could feel the shaking frame starting to give under the blows. So I did the only thing I could think of and started yelling and screaming unsteadily at the front of my house. From memory, I think I was frantically yelling something like, "What the fuck are you doing?" It was a fight or flight response. I didn't even have time to think to formulate a plan, or go to the back door, or to call the police. Almost as suddenly as it started, the banging stopped, and I heard footsteps outside running away. For some reason, this gave me confidence, and I looked around for a weapon to grab before I went outside to confront whoever this was. Really fucking stupid. I know. I remember thinking the handle felt a little weird when I opened the front door. However, by the time I got outside, they were gone. Nowhere to be seen. Almost as if they were never there at all. I should mention at this point I was getting about 2 hours of sleep a day. Before my graveyard shifts. So a little sleep deprived So I was a little sleep deprived, and I knew I wasn't exactly thinking clearly. So I started to question whether anything had happened at all. When I went outside, I looked for any signs of damage to verify for sure whether this had really happened or not. Then I saw the front door and realized why the handle felt odd. The flimsy wood had been struck next to the handle repeatedly and started to splinter. If they had kicked the center of the door, I'm sure their foot would have gone all the way through. But they were kicking next to the handle, closer to the frame where it was slightly stronger. One or two more kicks and they would have been inside. The police came later and I filed a report. However, nothing was stolen, and there wasn't anything stolen from my unlocked garage or the bedrooms. And there wasn't anything stolen from the unlocked garage beneath my bedrooms. They were either too stupid to check the downstairs first, or they weren't looking to steal anything. Womp, womp. What up, Dead Mosby? What up, Jimmy? Sam the Great 2. Thank you so much. I'm Mr. Super Chat. What would you do if a guy comes up to you and asks to be your avocado man wife? I'm trying to put myself in that situation. A guy walks up to me and says he wants to be my avocado man wife. Yeah, I'd probably just walk away. I think that's what I'd do. Or I'd just be like, I'm already taken. Or I'd just tell him, I hate avocados and I hate you. You've always been a dick and you lie. Don't come back to me ever again. I've changed the locks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Almond Milk. Your maker, do you own any Nintendo products? No, I do not. Don't. What up, Fant Omas? What up? So yeah, at least you guys got to hear a few stories. I'm sure a lot of people missed it. And I'll probably end up editing those later. I gotta go get hay for the guinea pigs, cat food, all that fun stuff. Yes. Gilbert, my day is going alright. Not too shabby at all. I'm gonna try to be getting a whole bunch of work done, and I'm gonna try to be crushing it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. But I'm glad you guys were able to join me, even if it's just a short stream. It's been a while since I've actually tried to record, and hopefully I can get this done and up for my Patreons tonight. And then those of you that might have missed the stories, you'll be able to catch them tomorrow or something like that. Someone says they have a fictional story. Can they send it? Yes, you can. As long as you're, it's scary. Yeah. And it's not just like a block. Yeah. Koala Dragons says, you're great. Keep reading them stories, man. I appreciate that. And I'm glad you made it to the stream. I've been seeing you around quite a bit. Glad you made it to this one as well. And hopefully you got to hear the stories. And if not, well, you'll hear them error-free in a couple of days-ish. I'm going to try to pump out more content. I'm probably going to also live stream tomorrow. Debating on if I want to do a little Friday the 13th gameplay or just bullshenanigy or what. So, I don't know. Keep an eye out for that. Maybe do some Friday the 13th or something like that. Maybe do that and play some stories over it. Maybe like some of my unlisted ones. Yeah. Yes. Shelby says, what would you do if someone walked up to you and said they could make you a model? I'd laugh at them. Yeah. I'd be like, Yeah, no, they don't make models for extra smalls. Extra smalls. No, I wouldn't do the modeling even if I was legit modeling material. It's not a whole environment I'd want to be in. I don't want to watch what I eat. I mean, I'm already a twig. It's not like I gain weight, but I want to do what I want. You know what I mean? Dixie Smith coming in with a $2 super chat saying, I love your stories. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoy them. Sometimes it's crazy because I never know if people are going to like them. But it's always weird. The ones that I'm really not sure if people are going to like, they always like more than the ones I thought they were going to like. Like if I think that if I'm like, yeah, everyone's going to love these stories. They sound great. Everyone's like, these stories sucked. And I was like, what? And then I put ones up that are just like, okay, there's not much to this story, but we'll put it up. And then people are like, oh my God, that story was amazing. And I'm like, okay, so I don't know how to judge my stories. Can I do a Pennywise impression? I cannot. Honestly, I don't really remember what the new Pennywise sounds like. Like I said, I fell asleep during the movie, so. Yes. Almond milk. Doing anything for Halloween here, Maker? I'm probably gonna go to bed early and then hit Spirit Halloween the day after. That's what I'm gonna do. I want to get some masks and a fog machine so I can start doing some skits on like Fear Your Maker. I want to do some creepy skits or something because I don't know what to do with Fear Your Maker, and he's just been like chilling for a while. Yeah, I know it. I know what he says. You float down here. They all float down here, but I would want to do it in the voice. They all float down here. Oh. Yeah, Oni-chan. He said not too much unnecessary details. That's what I thought, but like there was one story I did like a year and a half ago, maybe a year ago, and the entire story was just about a guy. He had his laptop stolen. And there wasn't anything really even creepy about it. And that's why I was like, I don't think people are going to enjoy this. I mean, it's just a whole story of, a laptop being stolen. But for some reason, everyone loved that story. So, yeah, I really was confused by that. So, thank you, King Frank, I see you keep commenting that. Thank you so much. Abby Kimmel, hello. Happy I was able to catch the live video. I'm happy you made it in too. Sorry this one's a little short, but we will definitely be streaming again. If not tomorrow, then the next day, most definitely. I'm just not sure if I should do video games. If I do, it's definitely got to be a Friday the 13th. I think if people came and saw me just doing like Rocket League or Rainbow Six, they'd be like, what the hell is this doing? But it doesn't really matter. No. Thank you, Vex Frost. I appreciate that. I'm subscribed to 8 Scary Stories YouTubers, including you, because I really love listening to them. Yeah, they are addicting for sure, and they do help time go by for sure. Dead Mosby, have you ever seen How I Met Your Mother? I'm assuming you meant the show. Oh, no, I think I've seen like an episode of it, but I'm not big on the sitcoms or any of that. Jimmy asks, do you play PlayStation 4? I do. Your Maker 69. I do. Yes. I play video games. Yes. Alright, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here and go take care of the animals. But I will be back tomorrow or the next day, most definitely. Yeah. I hope everyone, maybe even tonight, I don't know, we'll see how things go after my errands. I don't know. But just make sure you have the notifications on for my channel, and then you'll know when I know, because I'm really sporadic. I'm really bad at putting a set time out there because I'm always afraid I'm going to forget. That's how it is. So, yes, deal with it. Alright, guys, I'll catch you a little later. Hope you enjoyed the stories. Thanks for dropping in, and be safe. Or don't be safe. That's kind of on you, but I would be safe if I were you. Be safe.